friends, and welcome back to my crafty space. My name is Crystal, and in today's video, I am going to be putting together my next two projects using the Strong Story Kit from Ali Edwards. This is for my StoryKitCrush series, which just means that I'm pulling out one kit every month and doing my best to use up the entire kit and tell as many stories as I can throughout the course of the month. This is my third week, so if you haven't checked out the other two process videos and the planning video, then I will make sure to link the playlist up at the eye for you as well. Okay, so today I've got two stories. The first is going into a 6x8 story album. And it's going to tell the story about going through some struggles with sickness as a child. I have chronic asthma, and it was much worse when I was a kid than it is now. And I just want to tell the story about what it was like to go through life with some pretty hard health issues, right? The second story is one that is just kind of a letter to myself, almost like affirmations type of project that's going to go into a traveler's notebook. And the whole thing stemmed from this card that says, "I am strong and brave," plus repeat. So what I did is I typed up some journaling here. I left some space to add some stamping, and then we're going to create an interactive spread inside of a traveler's notebook with stamping and all that fun stuff. So, what we'll do is get you on fast forward and work through both of these projects. Once they're done, we'll slow back down to close out for today. I will just forewarning that both of these are going to be pretty labor intensive, so I may cut some portions out to make the video not so long for you, which is the benefit to speeding up always. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in for today. To begin working on both of these layouts for today, the first thing I'm going to do is pull aside all of the elements from which I'm going to fussy cut pieces out, which if you don't know what that means, it just means I'm going to be taking some of these cards and then cutting out the elements on the card. For example, this one, I'm going to cut out all of the text. This next one, I'm going to cut out the circle, and then the third one, I'm going to cut out all of the leafy portions, leaving them as solid circle as I can, which you'll see here once I bring them all back. So then I went and sat down on my couch and watched a couple episodes of a TV show and cut everything out. That's generally what I like to do when I am cutting these smaller pieces out, and to me, it's really relaxing because it gives me an excuse to go sit down and watch some TV. So the first spread I'm going to work on is the one for my traveler's notebook. I printed this photo of myself at 4 1/4 by 8 1/4, leaving a bunch of space there at the top where I could then add my title back onto the photo. So those are the pieces that came out of the "I am strong and brave" plus repeat card. I did leave a little bit of it was almost like a taupey color as an outline around those different words because I like the way that it shadows behind each of the individual words, helps it pop off the page a little bit more. And then I'm adding my roller adhesive onto the different elements and sticking it onto the photo above my head. I really, really like the proportion of the words and then how they fit in between my two arms as I'm reaching up towards the sky. That was a photo that was taken on a recent trip to Mackinac Island, where we went to participate in our friend's wedding. And one of the days there wasn't a ton of things happening. So my sister-in-law and I went with her mom and her daughter up to Fort Mackinac, which is at the tallest part of the island. I think it's the tallest part of the island, and toured around the fort. So we just took a picture right on the stairs leading up into the fort. For the opposite side of this page, I'm going to create my own pattern paper. And I wanted to bring in some more of the greens from the colors in this kit. So I've brought out 3 different colors of inks there. I've got Olympia, which is going to be the middle ink that you're going to see me use. Actually, I've got four inks, I apologize. The first one that I use there is Mackenzie. That is the newest crafter's ink from Ali Edwards, and it's kind of a deep, almost evergreen-ish type green. The second one I'm using here is Olympia, which is a little bit more muted. The third one here, I always pronounce wrong. but it's Willamette, something like that. Willamette. I can spell it, but I can't say it. And that one is a little bit more limey of a green. And then the last one I'm using is Columbia, which is a teal color. And I liked using the teal and bringing a little bit of blue into the spread as well. So what I did is I took the word strong and then I angled it and then created a section for each of those different colors. So it's almost an ombre effect on the page. And then I set it aside to dry for just a few minutes before I bring it back, and I will trim it down to the correct size, which is again 4¼ by 8¼ While I have my stamping supplies out, I did decide to bring back over this card, which is printed, I believe, at 2.5 inches wide by about 7 inches tall. And my idea was to make this into a tag shape, and then I've got a portion of one of my 3x4 cards that you can see. It's got like the rainbow of colors there. So that portion is 2 inches by 3 inches. So I'm going to actually stitch that down on top of that large page of stamping and create a pocket with it where this tag piece is going to slip into the pocket. I used a separate tag that I have just to give me a gauge on the angled cuts at the top there. And then I used my power punch to create my circle where I will add in some twine here in a little bit. I like the power punch because it's a bit bigger of a hole, so it gives me a little bit more room, and it just, I don't know, for some reason it makes the tag look a little bit more substantial when the hole for the twine is bigger, so I made it that way. And then I also took the stamp set that says I am strong from the Story Stamp, and then I used my, I actually think I used the new red, which is, I got to think about the name, Redwoods. That's the name. So Redwoods is the red ink that I used for the words I am strong. I chose to do red on there because I really liked the way that it contrasted with all of these greens and blues. So you're definitely not going to miss the words in the middle there. They're going to pop off that page. And then here is where I will start to assemble the pocket as well. So I took one of the plastic pieces from the main kit. I can't quite read what it says, like grow through what you go through. That's what it says. And I stapled that onto the card in the middle. So that's going to be where the pocket is. However, when you go to slip anything into the pocket now, it will catch on the back side of the staple. So I just grabbed a piece of washi tape to cover up the staple portion. So then when I slip my tag in and out of the pocket, it's not going to catch or rip or, scratch or anything on the staple. So then I added just a teeny itty bitty bit of adhesive onto the edges of, or the bottom edge, I should say, of that pocket piece, because I know I want to actually stitch it on there so that it is super duper secure. But I didn't want to put too much tape where it was going to gum up my machine. So it's just the tiniest little bit. And then as I am stitching along the edges of the pocket, I'm trying to stay as close as humanly possible to the edge of the pocket so that the inside portion where my tag can slip down in will fit the best that I can get it to fit. So we'll trim everything off, and then for both this one and the photo, I did this earlier, I'm just adding some double-sided tape. This is from scrapbook.com, and I go back and forth between using the 1/4 inch and the 1/8 inch. I generally like the 1/4 inch for things like this, like sticking the page inside of the book. But I also use 1/8 sometimes too. So there's really no rhyme or reason. It's just what I pulled. And then I am going to remove the backing off of the tape, and then we're just going to tape it directly down onto one of the pages inside of my Traveler's Notebook. This Traveler's Notebook is one from Studio Calico that I purchased a while back. And some of the pages, I really like the patterns and I use the patterns, and some of them I just don't really see myself using them. So I don't mind covering up both sides of the page. When you add things like pockets or acrylic pieces or things that have a little bit more dimension to them into a traveler's notebook, it is going to cause it to bulk up. more so than if everything was flat. For me personally, I don't mind the bulk, so I just will fill it until it feels, too obnoxious. And then I will adhere the remaining pages together and then just call that one done. But for me, those books, I don't mind them being super bulky. So I throw all that stuff in there. I like to put acrylic pieces in. I like to put tags in and all that stuff. It makes it more fun for me, I think. So the Traveler's Notebook spread is now completed, and we're going to move on to a 6x8 page. Now, on the one side, so on the left side of the spread is going to be a full page photo, and I believe I did trim that to 6x8, which we'll see here in a second, and it will just go directly down into a pocket. For the right side, we're going to do something a little crazy, and I'm going to create an interactive piece where these leafy bits will actually flip open to reveal photos underneath them, which is going to be somewhat complex, but it actually turns out really, really cool. Because this is going in a divided page protector on the right side, so the page protector will have two 4x6 sections. Because it is a pocket, what I'm going to do is I will eventually create a portion or a card that I will slip down inside of the pocket itself, and then I will adhere the flip portion to that on the outside. And I can, a little bit later, you'll be able to see that I probably could add another photo into this if I wanted to. I don't really have any more photos, so I might just totally adhere it down onto the plastic, but I'll bring that back up when we get to that portion of this. Then for the interactive portion, what I did is I took my trimmed out piece. So there are 3 wreath portions where there's a little bit left in the middle. So it gives me a space, I should say, to add photos or to add something to the underneath of it. So I am tracing out some patterns on just plain white copy paper. And then once I have that done, so I stuck the circle piece onto the paper, roughly traced around it, and then cut it smaller than what I traced it so that it could be hidden underneath those leaves. And then once I had that done, I put this back out on, again, just some plain copy paper, and I'm going to trace it as though it were a whole shape. So I do half of it, kind of leave myself some markers so I know where to line it up, and then I'm going to trace the other half. So then you can see that they become kind of wonky ovals. One of them is a little bit more squat, and those are what I'm going to use as templates for my photos, because I printed 3 photos that I'm going to back these pieces with. And so I needed an easier way to know how to cut those photos, if that makes sense. And then once we get the photos trimmed into these circle portions, I will also cut them in half so that we can create the flip element, which will make more sense as we get into it. This is what I mean by, this is a little bit complex, but honestly, I think if you watch the video, it's easier to see it than it is to explain it. But, I'll do my best to keep explaining away. So here's where we can see how everything's going to be laid out. Next, what I'm going to do is grab these 3 photos. So I have one photo that's just a random one from when I was little, a picture that my mom took of me sleeping. And this would have been the age range when I started having problems. And then I've got another picture of me, this one right here, where I'm using a nebulizer machine, which is basically a breathing machine that puts medicine into your lungs. And then the third picture is a portion of the nebulizer itself. The mouthpiece is what will be shown, and also the chamber where you would put the medicine. So these are representations of what this period of time was like. And just for background, so this story right here, as I said in the intro, I have asthma. I have chronic asthma that is typically only triggered when I am ill. So as a child, it might not have been that way, but definitely as an adult, I still have issues, but I don't really recognize it unless I'm not feeling well. And then it will cause further problems and just makes everything worse. But as a kid, we lived in a really, really old house, and we think that there was something in the house that just didn't agree with my health. And so I had asthma attacks all the time, and my parents used to have to bring me to the hospital like every couple of weeks, and I would be hooked up on IVs. And I think that's probably where my fear of needles came from for the longest time. I'm okay with them now, but I was terrified of shots and all that stuff as a kid. I have some memories of being in the hospital because this would have been like 4 or 5, maybe 6 years old. I have some memories of that time, but not a ton. It's mostly what I have heard from my parents. And then I have one strong memory of getting some toy figurines when I was in the hospital that made me really excited. I was super into Wizard of Oz, and my mom got me some Wizard of Oz figurines then. I can remember playing with them in my hospital bed. So, I do have some memories, but not a ton. What I do have memories of for sure is this nebulizer machine, because that was what ultimately made it so I didn't have to go to the hospital all the time, is we just had this machine that we could hook up, and I would wear a face mask when I was really young, and then as I got older, I just had the mouthpiece that I have pictured. And that really made a significant difference. And we also moved into a brand new house that my parents built, and that made a big difference. So like a bunch of things made a significant impact for my health. The last time I had a major issue was in high school, and like my freshman year of high school, where I was out of school for probably about a month, and ended up with pneumonia, which, pneumonia for me, I think I've had it like 5 or 6 times. So it's, crazy stuff, crazy pants. But I haven't had an issue since high school, and that's now like, gosh, many years ago now. So hopefully things will continue on the trajectory of being better. Let's just hope for that. But I thought that this would be an interesting story to document because it was such a big thing when I was younger. But anyway, so that's the background to this story. Now, what I'm doing here is I am creating the flip up portions. So you saw that I trimmed out the photo. I cut the photo in half. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking a piece of plain white copy paper. It's 2 inches wide by however many inches tall. And then I'm just adhering the photo to the inside of a crease. So I folded it at 1 inch. So there's a fold down the middle. And then I'm adhering these so that they line up with each other with a tiny little bit of space between them to make it easier to fold it in half, which is why I cut the photo in half instead of trying to score that and fold it. It's just easier if it's cut. And then once I have that portion done, I can add adhesive to one side that goes on the flip up portion. So like this one right here. And then once we have that all down and good, I can add adhesive to the other side of the flip or of the photo piece there. And that will go down on the 4x6 piece of white cardstock that I have up at the top. So I'm basically rebuilding that exact same card as before, the one that I fussy cut out. But, having the pieces be interactive. To help hold these pieces down, I have one of the chipboard that says, I don't actually remember what it says. Maybe this is a story of strength or something like that. And I kept the backing on it. And then I just used my tiny attacher and I stapled it so that I can kind of wiggle it around and finagle things in and out from underneath it. So then I can just keep all of those branches, and I will at the end here, I'll show you this a little bit more in depth. I will end up curving those pieces just a little bit more so that they're easier to get in and out from behind that chipboard piece, but we'll do that more towards the end. To finish up this card, I want to add some puffy stickers for numbers that will correspond to the journaling below. So I pulled out these puffy stickers from Ali Edwards. They are black and they are from the Storytelling Basics collection. I love, love, love these particular stickers. They are very classic in the way that they look. They're thin, they're dainty, and I really like them. I have the 1, 2, 3 on the different pieces there, and those correspond to the 1, 2, 3 of the journaling card that's going to go directly below it. Here is where I'm going to create the piece that's going to connect to another card that I will then be able to put inside of the pocket, so I don't have to do anything weird. Although, and this is where I'm talking like I could put another photo or more journaling or something underneath the flip up of this card, but I don't feel like I have anything else to add. So I most likely am going to just put some red line tape or something at the bottom of the back side of that card, and then I'll just adhere it straight onto the plastic. For my photo, we're going to keep this pretty simple. I did fussy cut out this "You Are So Very Strong" piece from one of the 3x4 journaling cards. I'm going to stick that on there. And then I have a chipboard piece that says "My Story" or "This is my story." And that's going to go layered on the top. We're going to trim that off, and then we'll be able to call this done. All right, friends, that completes my spreads for today. So we've got the Traveler's Notebook one on the left side here. Love the way that this title turned out on top of the photo. I think that was really fun. And then to just have this little bit of journaling here on the pull-out tag that goes into this little piece of journaling card from a cutoff piece. So a really fun way to make sure that I'm using up all of those bits and pieces. And then this second spread turned out even better than I imagined. I actually really loved this one. It's so pretty, and you could do something like this with any type of story. It doesn't have to be a story about strength. It could just be using these leafy bits in order to create this same type of flip out function. So I've got my photo here on the left, and then all of these pull out. So this is not, it's only attached with the staple there, which allows me to be able to pull the pieces out from behind it. And then I just have to be pretty careful, but we don't really flip through these all the time. So then honestly, I probably just need to like bend this a little bit. There we go. And then I can just stick it right back behind that chipboard piece. So there's the second one, which pulls out a little bit easier. And then the third one, or the first one, I suppose, that pulls down. So I thought that that was a fun way to add in some different photos to give this story a little bit more context. So we've got the 3 photos that relate to the 3 journaling blocks down here, and then that story is complete as well. So super fun, really love it. I love the texture that both of these spreads have. If you guys enjoyed seeing both of these come together, I would love a thumbs up down below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can catch all of my future crafty videos. If you're looking for even more videos or some of my early access StoryKitCrush videos, you can find those on my Patreon, which I have a link to down in the description below. So if you're interested in that, make sure you check out the link. Otherwise, until next time, I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye, friends.